This is a Swede Speaks.
The Church of Sweden, I have to talk about them, and this is no fun. They have just adapted a new church handbook, literally yesterday. And the new handbook replaces the old one. The old one has been valid for 31 years, but is now replaced with a new one. And among the things in the new church handbook is that they are toning down places where they speak of God as He and as Father. And let's see what it says in the article here. They have interviewed one of the critics of this, a priest named Bertil Murray, and he says, for Jesus it was obvious that God was his Father, and he taught us to talk about God as Father. The church meeting, the Swedish church meeting, that is the organization or the meeting that decides upon changes in the Church of Sweden. The church meeting means that this was typical for the time, and you could just as well talk about God as Mother. This leads to a different faith in God, and actually in the long run to a different religion, says Bertil Murray. I agree with him, and an interesting thing is, as far as I know, the Church of Sweden still believes in this book. This book is called the confessional scriptures of the Church of Sweden, Svenska kyrkans bekännelseskrifter. And an interesting thing about the Lutheran Church of Sweden, or the Swedish Church of Sweden, which is a Lutheran church, it used to be a state church, now it's not, but there's still some funny things going on between government and church in Sweden. But other Lutheran churches usually don't have all of it, but they incorporated the Lutheran confessional scriptures, not only the apostolical, the Nicene, the Athanasian. Of course, they have the Augsburgian confession, and among this you have in chapter 28 or article 28. I have it in Swedish here, but I have found it online in English, so I'll just take a look at what it says there, because it's a lot easier. Because that's the article that's about being loyal to the bishops. Oh, let's see what it says. It says, well, about spiritual powers, but it talks about when to obey bishops and when not to. And remember, this is Luther, this is not me. I might be of a different opinion, but the Church of Sweden is officially and nominally Lutheran, and they have this in their own confessional scriptures. And this is what the scriptures that still are valid, as far as I know, for the Church of Sweden says in Article 28. But when they, the bishops, teach or ordain anything against the gospel, then the congregations have a commandment of God prohibiting obedience. It doesn't say you can choose if you want to be obedient or not to a bishop that goes against the gospel. It says the congregation, the parish, they have to go against such a bishop. So what does the gospel say? Let's have a short look at that. In the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verses 29 and 30, Jesus says this: My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all. No one can snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and the Father are one. Jesus here clearly speaks of God as Father, not as Mother. He speaks as God as Father. And in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 7. 1 second. Jesus also talks, let's see, verse 7, yes. He talks about those who are leading the sheep, us, astray. He says, Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to sin. Such things must come, but woe to the man through whom they come. So, when the bishops lead Christians astray, when the bishops do this, he's talking about them there. Trust me on that one. So what can I say about the Church of Sweden? I have mentioned the Church of Sweden before a few times in this channel. The Church of Sweden is not a church. It's been a fallen church for a long time. I'm not surprised by this. The Church of Sweden is a leftist organization dressed up as a church. It's socialism and left liberalism with a little Christianity to it, but it's not really Christianity. It hasn't been there for a long time. What happened to the Church of Sweden was the long march through the institutions. The left of the 60s, the 1968 left, the new left, they had a different idea of how to rule society. Instead of making a revolution, as they did 50 years before in countries like Russia, and a little later in China, their strategy was that they would infiltrate the organizations. The newspapers, the parties, different institutions in society, including churches, and they would change from within. And that's what happened. There was a church meeting in Uppsala in Sweden in 1968 full of leftists, and they are still there. They have more or less taken over the entire leadership of the Church of Sweden. There are individual parishes, individual priests that are good, or congregations, parishes, I use these words interchangeably, that are good, that still believe in the gospel. But the church as a whole is a fallen church. The church in itself, the leadership, they have corrupted the Church of Sweden. And what can I say about this? First of all, I don't think there is any human hope for the Church of Sweden. For this we need a miracle. And what I want is, well, we have to pray for Sweden. We have to pray for the Christians in Sweden. We have to pray for Christian revival within and outside the Church of Sweden. And until such a miracle happens, until the Church of Sweden turns into a Christian church, if that ever happens, the Church of Sweden needs to be ruthlessly criticized. Or not, well, harshly. We need to point out to them that what they are doing. And sorry for the language, but they are really going the devil's errands here. That's what they're doing. So, to the individual Christian in Sweden, I would advise you to look for real Christians outside the Church of Sweden. Go somewhere else. Don't support this organization with your money, because as long as you are registered as a member of the Church of Sweden, a part of your tax money will go to this church. And there's a lot of things I could say about it, but just now, right now, I want to focus on this. Leave the Church of Sweden. Go somewhere else. Because you cannot stay in the Church of Sweden. You just can't. If you're Lutheran, find a conservative Lutheran congregation and go there. And the Church of Sweden, it has fallen. It's really sad, but that's what happened. And that's really what I have to say about this. And yes, the Church of Sweden should also be thrown out of all ecumenical Lutheran organizations, but a lot of them are corrupted too. So I guess that is it. That's what I have to say about this. So, until next time, have a nice day, and God bless.